Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, we'll fill you in on how the IU men's soccer team fared against the Fighting Irish.
And find out how an already battle-tested women's soccer team is preparing for Big Ten conference play. This is Hoosier Sports Night.
Hello from the Hoosier Sports Night anchor desk here. I'm Meredith Struing, and I am honored and really humbled to have the best co-anchor in the game, dare I say at IU, in the world, whatever it is. I'm talking about Will Trubshaw sitting right next to me. Will, how do you feel about the third installment of Hoosier Sports Night tonight?
Boy, well, Meredith, first off, thank you so much for those kind words. And second, I'm ecstatic. The first two episodes have been electric, absolutely chock full of great content. And I get the feeling we're going to see some more in this week's episode.
Our reporters have been doing a great job. So I'm excited to dive in.
Let's do it.
Alrighty.
All right.
So we'll start with the IU men's soccer, where the team has become synonymous with overtimes and draws. Maya Engel breaks down the highlights from Tuesday's game against Notre Dame.
First 5 games of the 2019 season have all gone to overtime, and on Tuesday night the Hoosiers faced off against in-state rival Notre Dame and ended in a 1-1 draw in double overtime. The historical rivalry between the Hoosiers and the Fighting Irish continued on Tuesday night as the teams met for their 44th time in program history. For the 4th time this season, Indiana started off behind a goal in the first half despite leading 9-3 in shots.
No matter if we're down or we're up a goal, we'll always have the same fight in us. But obviously we would like to start a little better. But, that's something we'll work on, and, we'll keep growing as a team as the season goes on.
The Hoosiers brought that fight into the second half and found the equalizer in the 66th minute when Simon Weaver sent in a beautiful cross to freshman Herbert Endeley, who netted his second clutch goal of the season. Indiana had great possession all throughout the game and put up 25 shots against the Fighting Irish, but the 6'7" goalie Duncan Turnbull was always there to make the save. After 2 overtimes, neither Indiana nor Notre Dame could find that game-winning goal, and the Hoosiers had to settle with a 1-1 draw against the Fighting Irish.
As a coach, to me it's all about the performance improvements that we're making. We've improved in every game. Some games in areas that are very small but very important, whether it's restarts, whether it's our decisions on our build, our spacing, our combinations. I see improvements in every game.
Midfielder AJ Palazzolo says his team grew a lot from this game, but now they're putting this one behind them to focus on their Big Ten opener against Wisconsin on Friday, back here at Armstrong Stadium. Reporting for IUS TV Sports, I'm Maya Engel.
Speaking of undefeated teams at Armstrong Stadium, IU women's soccer is a perfect 2-0 at home, and for the season sit at 4-3. The Hoosiers have now won 3 games in a row, seemingly getting hot at the perfect time. Our Griffin Epstein and Luke Burkhart have the scoop ahead of Friday night's Big Ten opener.
Hoosier! Going into Big Ten play, Indiana women's soccer is firing on all cylinders. After a slow start to the season where IU was just 1-3, Indiana has won 3 in a row. Last weekend, the Hoosiers came from behind to defeat UT Martin 2-1 and stunned previously undefeated Kentucky 1-0. Junior Melanie Forbes had the game winner in Lexington for IU. Her goal encapsulated the rising season momentum that couldn't have come at a better time.
It's just kind of building on each one, and I think it's a great timing. We're going into Big Ten season this weekend, and I think we're just going to kind of keep going off of it.
The impending start of Big Ten play will attempt to throw a stoppage into the Hoosiers' surging confidence. However, first-year head coach Erwin Van Bennekom sees his squad's fight through adversity as a blessing for conference play.
I think we've been tested. I think we've traveled a bunch. So I think we've seen all different kind of styles of play, different opponents, different level of opponents. So I think that prepared us well.
There is no doubt that IU has improved in their first month under Van Bennekom, and now they are seeing positive results with positive play.
So what's the recipe for new success for the IU women's soccer team? Melanie Forbes says it's a new mentality on the pitch.
It's our mindset. We were really focused defensively, and we still are, but just kind of looking forward to create more offensive chances and just doing what we can to finish them, kind of like playing smart rather than playing hard.
While ranked Penn State and Iowa may be the glamour atop the Big Ten, the depth of the league will provide an endurance test for young IU. The Hoosiers will have to play with their aggressive mentality every night to avoid fulfilling the preseason projection of finishing third to last in the Big Ten. However, Coach Van Bennekom isn't sweating the final standings.
For us, realistic right now is to go and try to beat Iowa, and they're really, that's going to be tough enough. So we're not looking too far ahead.
For Hoosier Sports Night, Griffin Epstein and Luke Burkhart.
Once again, you can catch the Hoosiers in action on Friday at 3 p.m. from Armstrong Stadium when they take on the 19th ranked Hawkeyes. The game will also be broadcast on BTN+.
Coach Tom Allen called IU's game against Ohio State a rough day for the Hoosiers. They failed to close the wide gap that was between them and the Buckeyes on Saturday in probably one of the biggest games of the year. Drew Fry walks us through what made that day so rough for IU.
Hoosier fans had high expectations for their team's matchup against the Buckeyes, but it was Ohio State's J.K. Dobbins and Justin Fields who stole the show.
The bottom line is you have to run the football on offense and stop throwing on defense, and we didn't do either one of those today. And when you don't, you make it really, really difficult.
The Indiana defense struggled, allowing over 50 points to the Bucks, and the offense, led by backup quarterback Peyton Ramsey, failed to put up a single point in the second half.
I think the effort wasn't where it's supposed to be, and I think it showed. We just didn't think it was there, and we're going to get it addressed and we're going to get it fixed. I'm not singling nobody out. I'm sure I probably didn't do what I was supposed to sometimes too. And like I said, I'm just going to take this on the chin as a learning experience and continue to grow.
The fight and just the internal fire that you have that makes you keep going, that never stops. It never changes, it never goes away. And if you want to be special in this life, in any line of work, you got to have grit.
Despite finding very few positives in his team's performance, Allen said the most important thing will be to see how his team bounces back.
Hit us right in the face today. So how are you going to respond? That's what I just challenged our team. And we're going to find out, the character of our program, where we stand right now. I said today was going to show us a lot. Well, you know what? It wasn't in the way that I wanted, but we're still going to find out some things about the Hoosiers.
The Hoosiers will have a chance to take out their frustrations on the UConn Huskies in their next matchup before getting into the thick of their Big Ten slate. This is Drew Fry, IUS TV Sports.
And like Drew mentioned, the Hoosiers, while frustrated about the loss to Ohio State, will need to bounce back rather quickly before they compete in several games that will test their endurance to the fullest. Make sure to follow along with IUS TV Sports for live game updates on Twitter.
Women's volleyball finds itself coming off one of its brightest days in the Steve Air tenure. The Hoosiers picked up a signature win for their second-year coach when they defeated number 15 Kentucky in a 5-set thriller this past Saturday. This was Kentucky's first home loss in 2017 and allowed the Hoosiers to go a perfect 3-0 over the weekend and improved an overall record of 8-2. The upset was led by a strong defensive performance in which they had a season-high 17 blocks. Just 3 non-conference games remain for Indiana to build on their impressive start before they take on Minnesota September 27th to open up their Big Ten schedule.
And like we said, chock full of content. When Hoosier Sports Night continues, the IU field hockey team looks to sharpen their game heading into conference play. We have that preview for you.
And the men's and women's golf teams continue to venture through the Midwest, putting together strong showings in Illinois and Indiana. You're watching Hoosier Sports Night.
Welcome back. Let's get right back into it with IU field hockey. With a .500 record so far, the team looks to grow their game when they begin conference play this weekend. Jevin McCoskey and Ethan Duramo bring us the details.
The Indiana Hoosiers have had their fair share of ups and downs this year as they currently have a 3-3 record with 2 wins coming at home and another on the road. The Hoosiers came out with victories against the Drexel Dragons, the Ball State Cardinals, and the St. Louis Billikens, but have struggled against tougher opponents like the Miami Redhawks, the Louisville Cardinals, and the Fairfield Stags. Indiana has shown glimpses of high-scoring offense, but have struggled defensively with stopping opposing teams' transition offense, allowing multiple games of 5 goals scored against them. Comparing this to their first 6 games last year, you could say there has been improvements, but there's still plenty of room to grow for the Cream and Crimson.
They're talking about it. They're coming up with solutions. I mean, we told them as coaches we can only do so much, but they're out there playing the game, and it really is up to them and trying to figure out what, maybe a phrase or what kind of strategies they can use to help each other out and make sure that the second they step on the field, they're ready to go.
Coming up for the Hoosiers is a vigorous Big Ten schedule that has been anything but kind over the past seasons. In the last 2 years, the Hoosiers have only accumulated 1 win over another Big Ten opponent. That 1 win, coming against Michigan State University last year, puts Indiana's Big Ten record at 1-15 over the last 2 seasons. IU will start out conference play at Michigan State University, then travel back home for the next 3 conference games. The Cream and Crimson will close out conference play at Northwestern University. The Hoosiers are looking to build on a solid start into the season and compete in every game that the Big Ten has to offer this year. To be successful, they will have to stay busy on offense. Playing in the Big Ten means a lot of goals are going to be scored, and IU is on that pace. The defense is also what needs to step up if the Hoosiers look to be on top of the Big Ten when the season is over. For IUS TV Sports, I'm Jevin McCoskey with Ethan DeRamo.
Indiana women's golf was well represented by its underclassmen on Monday and Tuesday earlier this week. The women's golf team sent 3 individuals up to Yorktown, Indiana to play in the Cardinal Classic. Hoosier freshman Valerie Clancy led the way, finishing 3rd overall, while also carding 5 birdies on the final day of the tournament. Clancy's teammates Hannah Tanaka and Arushi Singh finished tied for 28th and 56th, respectively. Women's golf gets back on the course on Sunday in the East-West Match Play Challenge up north in Madison, Wisconsin. And you can follow our Jackson Kinney and Justin Berger on Twitter for updates on the outing from Madison this weekend.
And moving on to men's golf, they teed off their season by traveling right next door. The men's team found themselves in Lake Forest, Illinois earlier this week, competing in the Winden Memorial, led by sophomore Mitch Davis, who shot 1 over for the tournament and tied for 16th. The Hoosiers finished 9th overall in the team standings. It's an impressive finish for the Hoosiers, placing ahead of teams from Purdue, Michigan, and Iowa State. Now the team will compete later this week in the Olympia Fields and Fighting Illini Invitational at Olympia Fields Country Club in, you guessed it, Illinois. That does it for our show this week. Don't forget to like our page IUSTV Sports on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at IUSTV Sports. On behalf of Will Trubshaw and the entire talented production crew behind me, I'm Meredith Struing. We'll see you next week.